If you are a natural, you should never do this before your workout. This will ruin your workouts. You will waste your time and you will not get results. If you're a natural lifter, listen up. These are the mistakes that are silently killing your gains, and most people don't even realize they're making them. The first of these is related to aerobic exercises. Everyone speaks highly of aerobic exercises, but if you do them before your weight training, it will really set you back. When you get to the gym, your batteries are charged and you are ready to go. If you do your cardio right at the beginning, some of that energy will be used up and will be missed during your weight training, because a good weight training workout needs to be high intensity to generate results. You have to arrive with your batteries full and discharge them during training. If you do any other activity beforehand, you will already use up some of that energy before the main part. For you who are a natural, this process is even more intense. You cannot make a mistake in this because otherwise your results, which already take a little longer to happen, will be even more affected. The ideal is to do cardio after your workout, or if you have the possibility of fitting it into your routine at different times during your workout, that would be wonderful. There is one thing that is even worse than doing cardio before your workout that you absolutely cannot do. The idea is that you have the energy, stamina, and are in good shape to train. This is where we get into mistake number 2. If you eat a heavy meal before your workout, it will really mess you up. First, you will have that feeling of fullness in your stomach, which is bad enough because it takes away a bit of that intense and heavy workout vibe. Not to mention that depending on the exercise, it will even cause discomfort because you cannot support your stomach or do an exercise that requires a different body position. In short, it will cause you great discomfort. But it doesn't stop there. When you eat a heavy meal, your body understands that it needs to send blood to your stomach and intestines because these organs are working harder to digest the food. And our body, with all its wisdom, sends blood to where it has to work. But what if you start training right after? Your body is unsure where to allocate most of its blood. And in this confusion, and with its survival instinct, it will end up sending more to the muscles, since the workout is being heavy. And your digestion is impaired. Therefore, you will not be able to send all the blood needed to the muscles because some of it will still go to the stomach, and you will still have that feeling of a full stomach during the entire workout. So, what do I eat, and how long do I eat before training? If you eat a heavy meal before training, it will be impossible, do you agree? If you're going to have a meal like lunch, at least 2 hours before training would be ideal. If it is a snack, with something lighter, at least an hour before training. Because the idea is this, that you have already digested this food and it has already been absorbed by your intestine, at least part of it. That is when you can think. So that's settled. I will not eat anything and go to training because then I will not have this problem. This makes sense, but we fall into the next mistake on our list, which is arriving at training hungry. The problem, in fact, is not that you are hungry, but rather that when you start training, your muscles start to consume your body's energy, and among this energy, they start to consume glucose. Some of this glucose is in your bloodstream. As the training progresses, the body starts to consume this glucose, and there comes a time when your blood glucose level is very low. And that's when some problems arise, such as starting to turn pale, getting dizzy, and some people even fainting because their blood sugar is low. The recommendation is that you do eat, but eat something light to stabilize the glucose in your blood. It is important to point out that you cannot consume fast carbohydrates before training, known as high glycemic index carbohydrates. Here's an example. You go and drink some orange juice or grape juice, foods that are liquid and will be absorbed more quickly. If you eat something sweet, the same problem will occur. This is because these foods are quickly absorbed by your body, as a result making a large amount of glucose available in your blood. The big problem with this rapid rise in glucose is the development of a hormone that accompanies it to lower it, called insulin. Exactly because your body cannot keep a large amount of glucose circulating in the blood, so the body will need to stabilize these levels. If glucose has risen too much, it will end up raising too much insulin. And this insulin spike will drop this glucose, thus causing you to enter what we call the rebound effect. In other words, you end up with hyperglycemia and then hypoglycemia. It is as if you had not eaten, or even worse. Some people end up suffering from this process, so be careful when eating before training. Now, I will talk about a mistake that many people make thinking they are doing the right thing. You must have heard about the idea of working the rotator cuff before training. For example, when you're training your chest, you go to the gym and do exercises for your rotator cuff. There's some truth to this. But to help you better understand the truth behind it, the rotator cuff is a set of 4 muscles that stabilize our shoulder joint. This joint is only stabilized by these muscles, unlike the elbow or knee, for example, where there are ligaments that do this stabilizing work. In the shoulder, these are just these muscles. So, the big problem with doing exercises for these muscles before training is the risk of them getting tired and fatigued prematurely. And when you need to stabilize the joint during a bench press, for example, these 4 stabilizing muscles will be tired and overloaded and won't be able to do their job efficiently. Is it good to work the rotator cuff before training? Of course. However, these initial exercises should only be used for warming up. This term is known as muscle activation, as opposed to tiring it out and compromising your entire training. The ideal is to do a few sets of 10 or 15 repetitions, just to activate these muscles and not fatigue them. Now, here's a mistake that I see 99% of people making. And if you're natural, you can't afford to make any mistakes, because unlike people who use hormones and easily boost their gains, naturals don't have this advantage. People who take hormones may make mistakes from time to time because the hormones in their bodies compensate for this mistake. Now, if you're not taking hormones, any mistake you make will end up compromising your development. What I see 99% of people doing is, they arrive at the gym and go straight to training. When you've just arrived at the gym, your body is not prepared to train at a high intensity. So if you do this, your performance will be affected. The interesting thing is that you arrive at the gym and prepare your body to start training. Whether it's on a treadmill, bike, or stair climber, whatever equipment you have available, use it to start the dynamic warm-up, as it's known, the warm-up of the entire body. With this, your body temperature will start to rise, and you will start to feel warmer. This will optimize all of your body's enzymatic activities to produce energy. And another thing, your body begins to understand that it will need to use its muscles and start sending blood to them, preparing them for training. And then, when you start your first exercise, it's best to start with a specific warm-up. This way, you'll be able to better direct the work to those muscles you're going to work. The best thing to do is to do a few sets of this first exercise with about 30% of the load. Doing about 15 to 20 movements without getting tired is a good start. In the second set, the load can go up to about 50%, and do another 10 or 15 movements without getting tired. And then, you'll be ready to train hard. Now, this is an important part of your training, and if you don't do it, you could end up ruining your training. This is what we call the training atmosphere. If you're the kind of person who arrives at the gym and starts talking to everyone, that's fine. But this has a great potential to harm your training because you are not focused on what you have to do. When you get to the gym, what I recommend is that you create an atmosphere for your training. Ideally, you should have a ritual so that you can concentrate and focus on your training. An interesting tip that is scientifically proven by a line of study called exercise psychoneurophysiology is music. Exactly. It is proven within studies of exercise psychoneurophysiology that good music, with a good rhythm and volume, makes people perform better. And do you have any idea? It has even been proven that it reduces the regions of the brain responsible for feeling physical pain. We are talking about weight training, which is directly related to pain. But make sure you choose good music. Bad music has the power to ruin your training, and your results too. One recommendation is to create a playlist with the songs you like, so that when it is time to train, you only have to worry about the exercises. Comment here if you train with headphones, if you create this atmosphere, or if all these issues are new to you and you're still going to put them into practice. The important point about music is the following. Music has what we call BPM, which is beats per minute. So there is music that is faster, there is music that is slower. The important thing is to choose the style that suits you and that motivates you to train, especially on those days when you don't feel motivated. What I'm going to tell you now has the potential to take your training to another level. It's a matter of training, even for professional athletes, of knowing what training you're going to do. Many people arrive at the gym without even knowing what they're going to train that day. The interesting thing is that you already know what training you're going to do in that session. One interesting thing to have is a training plan, so that you can mentally prepare yourself for each day's training, as if you did the training mentally first. Then, when you get to the gym, you just need to replicate it. Great athletes have always done this, mentally preparing their moves, their races, for example, and then putting them into practice. Pre-workout is largely related to more energy. Many people think that if they take pre-workout, they will have more energy. However, that is not how it works, and it involves two dangers. First, if you get too excited, it will hinder your performance in training. Second, you may feel sick. Nowadays, there are even reports of people dying from taking too much pre-workout. Not to mention that you may also have the famous rebound effect of the product, which is, you take it to get you excited, and it happens completely the opposite way, and it ends up making you slow and sleepy. If you need to use a lot of pre-workout to be able to train, it is because something is wrong. Either you are sleeping very badly, and you are trying to compensate with pre-workout because your energy is low. Or maybe it is because you are already kind of addicted to pre-workout. Your body has already gotten used to it, and then it's a good idea to change your pre-workout supplement or go a few days without taking it. The recommendation is to only use this type of supplement on days when you're not feeling very well for training and feel like you need something more to perform. On days when you're feeling good, don't use it. You won't need it, you're already ready to push yourself, and taking a pre-workout supplement will only harm you. And what's more, it will improve your sensitivity for those days when you're not feeling 100%. Now, another important point that many people end up getting wrong or confused about is the amount of water they drink. If you drink water throughout the day, great, your body needs it. The recommendation is 35 to 50 milliliters per kilo of weight per day. An important aspect to note is that if you drink a lot of water before training, it won't hurt you, but it will harm your training. Because if you drink a lot of water, what naturally happens? Moments later, you start going to the bathroom to flush that water away, right? You start training, do the first exercise and go to the bathroom. Then you come back, do 2 or 3 more sets, and go to the bathroom. In the end, you almost couldn't focus on the main part, which is the training, so pay attention to this aspect and try to drink more water during your routine. Now that you know exactly what not to do before training, it's easy to understand why many natural people don't get results even when they try hard. Every detail counts. And if you really want to evolve, you can't make mistakes with these basic things. The difference between stagnating and growing can be exactly these mistakes that you make without realizing it. So leave a like. If you liked these tips, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. See you in the next video.